Hello, everybody. This is Marty Coleman with Evolution Sales New England, and we do a little sponsorship for this regatta where we want to do some data analysis and share it with the teams that wanted to send over the data. So, what we've done is for some of you that haven't seen some of the things I put together in regards to the data analysis. So what we do is we grab the data and we sit back and look and kind of compare. And get a feeling for what the boats have done over the race course. But then we also look at the data and kind of go through the data and see boat speeds, which I will share at the very end. So the first thing I like to do is look at the results because knowing who did well out of the group, I think is very important. And if we look here, we can see this is the first race. Mo was first. New Wave was second, and then we'll go through the other boats that were in this group as we go here. So we have Defiant. Let me get to the start line, which I think is very interesting to see. Let me get the wind kind of lined up here a little better. A little bit too far there. And then we'll just kind of go look at this stuff here. Oh, too far. So I don't have the actual starting line data. So if you look here on the bottom right, it's 1700. That was the mean Greenwich Mean Time that we started the first race, and I don't have the ping. So, but what's good though is we can still see who was closer to the line and what the boat speeds were. So let's back up here. This is the start. Let's back up a minute and see where everybody was at and kind of what's going on there, because the starts are very, very, very important, and I think it's worth walking through this and making sure we look at this here. So minute is right here. There it is. All right. So we on New Wave, spend a lot of time with time and distance, and if you look right now, we are roughly somewhere in the 80, 90 meters to the starting line. San Diego's a little bit aggressive for a minute, I would think, in that 70 meters. 4.2, 3.7. Vigilant still on port at a minute. I think most of the time boats tack over somewhere in that minute to time frame is when most people are on starboard trying to do their time and distance for the start. So let's advance this 15 seconds and take a look at things. 45 minutes to the start. Boat speeds are 2.7s. Getting anything under 3 gets to be a little dangerous. 2.5 is okay, but once you get to 2, it's so hard to get the boat going and up the speed. So trying to get that time and distance down. Let's go now to about 30 seconds. See where we're at. 2.9s, 2.9s, 2.8s. Everybody's kind of in that. Looks like the Voodoo. We have Voodoo, Vigilant, New Wave, Defiant, Mo, and San Diego. The Deja Vu. So this is, I think it looks like the boat end. These guys get locked out a little bit at the boat end. San Diego still close to the line at 30 seconds. They are, let's see, measure distance. See, in that 30. So you're at a 1-to-1 right now. Hard to get the speed when you're at 1-to-1 at 30 seconds. We don't typically, I think our goal is to somewhere in that 20-second range is where we'd like to be able to put the bow down and go. So that the time you tack over at a minute to 30 seconds to me is really very important. You're trying to control your lane, you're trying to control your speed and be able to give yourself a little bow down at the end and be able to get to speed. But if you don't get to speed, you never get to height. And so the guys that can start in the middle and go straight for a long time, tack over, not duck boats, that's how you win regattas. Okay, so let's advance another 15 seconds here. 45. So what are we looking at? Still 3 knots, 4 knots, 3 knots. San Diego's under 2 knots at 15 seconds. Gonna be hard to get to speed at the gun. So let's get to the gun. Bam. So we have New Wave's at 6.2, Mo's at 6, Defiant 3.5, and San Diego's at 4.1. Vigilance at 5, and Deja's coming in more at almost 6.9. Coming in hot. And away we go. So now what I like to do is we can look upwind and kind of see the tracks, which kind of helps us on the wind shifts. So I'm just going to let this play out here a little bit. We're just going to watch what happens here. I'll stop it here. So New Wave, Defiant, Mo, all hanging in there, going left. San Diego Vigilant, Deja going right. This was a really weird racetrack. We're way up on the west side of Narragansett. We don't typically race that far over there in that area, and I don't think we've ever raced out of when it was blown out of the south, tucked up in there. But I couldn't figure it out, honestly, because the boats on the right, about halfway up the beat, look really, really strong. But then if we look upwind here, we can see there's a little lefty coming across, and that pulls the left side of the racecourse back into play. That's why the boats to leeward on port look so strong for so long, but at the end of the day, it really did not pan out. Defiant gets across. So even though the right looked good early, the lefty with the left, I mean, you can still look at Mo's angle. They're low out there as we're high in here, but at the end of the day, they beat everybody to the windward mark. Mo's the first boat to around the windward mark. So current, possibly pushing, but at the end of the day, New Wave just does a one tack for the ley line. I'm going to zoom in here a little bit and see. So we got Defiant going to ley line, a little past ley line. Deja Vu, they made that decision earlier. That happens earlier. This is the toughest part about this fleet, is deciding when to get to ley line. How are you on the chunk of boats, right? And we know that Mo and New Wave are roughly 1-2 around the windward mark, but there's a lot more traffic in here, and trying to make that decision of do I take a clean lane out to the ley line and come in and know that a couple boats are going to get in under my bow at the windward mark. Nationals on New Wave, that's what we were a little bit conservative. We gave up a couple boats into that windward mark, but we never compromised ourselves in a position that we would not make the windward mark, or we'd have to duck 10 boats. So try to give up 2 boats and be conservative versus being aggressive and getting a big score. And I think that's the game here is to round the windward mark in the top 5 spot, but not win it. But again, be conservative top 5. And so a lot of thought should go into how this plays out. What's Vigilant and San Diego thinking here? Are they going to just come in and just kind of do the whole port ley line? Is there a bunch of boats that they have bad air? So you can spend a long time talking about how to manage this. But let's see what happens here, right? So Defiant should be ahead of this chunk here. But let's see what happens. A little bit of a lefty here, so that's going to put the guys on the left a little bit more advantage. So if you pause it here, right, it looks like San Diego is going to get in there. Bam, bam. So, kind of look at that. It's hard. It's so hard to manage up there, but it's something that you need to spend a lot of time thinking about, and how to manage risk at the end of the day. So, and then downwind, let's see, somebody jibes out. Vigilant jibes out ahead of Deja Vu. Let's see at the end of the day if that's okay. Doesn't look like much is happening downwind from a wind perspective. Maybe a little lower out here than in here. Again, is there lanes? Are there boats keeping you high? Mo and New Wave are pretty clear-ish, being the front row boats at the end of the day. So what happens here? Did they make it across? Looks that way, doesn't it? Yep. So a little gain for them, maybe a little clear air at the end of the day. Then in Seoul, Lure Gate. Now I'm going to shift the wind because the wind did shift a little bit here, right? So let's go right. No, the other way. Square it up just a pinch more. Look about right. And then these boats come down. New Wave and Mo take the left gate. New Wave tacks out. Let's get it a little closer. Super hard to, so it's always hard. You want to be on the outsides to have room. San Diego now has probably boats on the left and the right. It's trying to find out what the best exit strategy is. That all happens, again, halfway downwind. You got to make a decision. Are you going to go more towards, the Defiant side? Are you going to go more towards the Deja Vu side? But it's really hard when you get caught in the middle, which happens a lot to everybody. And then just trying to make, a good fast exit out of here, out of the gate, and not to lose too much time in the boats in front of you. So they come back. Let's see what happens here. San Diego Defiant. Okay, I'm going to zoom out here a little bit. Mo goes right, New Wave goes left. So you would think, based on the last leg, is this going to be better? Is this going to work out better? You can see that little whatever it is out here. These guys are higher. Deja Vu, San Diego. Let's just play this out here. Let me focus. If I can focus on this, this helps a little bit when I play it. Let's play it, see what happens here. Yeah, let me zoom out here. Slow it down a little bit. So again, probably thinking the left side paid. Defiant San Diego go over there. They get vigilant, head there a little bit. Probably get tacked on, got to tack back out. And Mo still stays, even though they overstood the ley line by a good bit. And they're doing 7-4s coming back in. Gave us an opportunity to get back into play with them a little bit. Probably rounded right behind them. Deja Vu. San Diego comes in, doesn't make ley line, has to tack back. Let me zoom back in. And get around Vigilant, and then there's Defiant. Okay. Downwind. Really not much. Defiant jibes out. Let's see if they get a gain there. Coming back down. Not able to make any gains on that jibe out on that last run. Bam, bam. Okay, now let's look at the data. The data is very interesting. Regatta, show step details. All right, so what I always look at is let's look at Mo here in the blue. I look at, step 1 is the first leg, step 2 and 3 second leg, and third leg, fourth, and then the overall throughout the race. So Mo, up the first beat, averaged a speed of 7.04 knots and sailed 2.75 kilometers. If you compare that to New Wave, we sailed at a 7.08 and a 2.8. And then you can compare San Diego sailed 7.07, Vigilant is 6.9, Deja 7.0, and Defiant is 6.9. And then 2.930, Deja sailed the most distance up the first beat. And then you can go back and look at it and kind of get a sense, what's going on. Downwind, Defiant 7.45. They're the very fast out of all the boats. They sailed a 2.6, which was the farthest distance. Don't know if that's good VMG or bad VMG. But if we go back and look at that leg, we can probably tell if they gained or lost compared to the fleet around them or the group of data boats, pockets that we have. So that's what you can do. And then you can kind of, I'll save it on this. You can always replay it back and look at it and study it. If you have any other questions, you can always call and ask. Happy to walk through this.